In the endless black of space, the human scout ship Orion floated quietly. Stars twinkled in the distance, but nothing seemed alive. The ship's engines hummed softly as it drifted through a region that humans had never charted. Deep space was quiet, almost peaceful, but Ethan, the young pilot, felt a strange tension. Something was out there, something waiting. Suddenly, the ship's sensors beeped. The sound was sharp and urgent. Ethan leaned over the console. "What is it?" he asked. His voice was steady, but his heart beat faster. "Sir," said Lieutenant Mara, the communications officer, "we are picking up a signal. It's strange, very strong, but from a location with no known objects." Ethan's eyes widened. "Send the coordinates to Earth immediately. Let's see if the scientists there can identify it." The message went through. A few minutes later, the reply came. "Impossible," came the answer. "There should be nothing in that sector. The signal pattern matches organized ships, but no fleet has been in that region for decades. They were thought destroyed. Gone." Ethan frowned. "Decades ago? Then why is this signal active now?" "Sir," Mara said, her voice low, "the data shows multiple ships, hundreds, maybe more. Their arrangement, it's like a fleet." Ethan leaned back in his chair, thinking fast. His mind raced with questions. "We have to investigate," he said. "We cannot ignore this. If the fleet exists, it could be dangerous. Or it could be humanity's chance to learn something incredible." The crew hesitated. Ethan could feel the tension growing. Navigator Rico shook his head. "Ethan, we don't know what's out there. It could be a trap. Ships like that, they could destroy us in minutes." Ethan's jaw tightened. "We cannot turn back. If this is true, it could change everything. Humans have never faced something like this before. We need to see it for ourselves." The ship changed course. Its engines flared softly as it turned toward the coordinates. Silence filled the bridge. Every crew member stared at the main screen, watching as the empty black of space stretched ahead. Hours passed slowly. The Orion moved deeper into the unknown. No signals, no contact, just the hum of their engines and the distant glow of stars. Mara's fingers danced over the controls, constantly scanning for anomalies. "Captain," she said suddenly, "I see something. Distance, about 20,000 kilometers. It's huge." Ethan rushed to the screen. The image was faint at first, just shadows in the void. But as the ship moved closer, the shapes became clearer. Massive, gigantic. Ships unlike anything humans had ever built. Towers and hulls stretched for kilometers, dark and metallic. The crew gasped. Navigator Rico stepped back. "No, it can't be real. These ships, they're bigger than any human vessel, far beyond our technology." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "And yet," he whispered, "they're there. Right in front of us." As Orion approached, the shadows of the fleet grew larger. The ships seemed to stretch endlessly, forming rows and patterns that suggested intelligence and planning. It was not random. Someone had arranged them this way. Mara's voice shook slightly. "Sir, the fleet is active. Energy readings are moving. The ships aren't dead, they're alive in some way." Ethan took a deep breath. "Stay calm. We don't know if they're hostile yet. Let's gather data, send probes, and see what we're dealing with." The crew worked quickly. Probes launched into the darkness, sending back streams of information. Strange patterns appeared on the ship's surfaces, symbols and lines that glowed faintly. Some looked familiar, almost human. Others were completely alien. Hours passed, but the tension never eased. Every beep of the sensors made the crew jump. Every shadow in space looked like a potential threat. And then, without warning, one of the probes went silent. No signal. Nothing. Ethan's stomach dropped. "What happened?" he demanded. Mara shook her head, eyes wide. We don't know. The probe, it just disappeared. No explosion, no signal. It's like it was absorbed." Silence fell over the bridge. The crew could barely breathe. Ethan knew something dangerous was out there, but he also felt a strange thrill. This was history. Humans were seeing something no one had ever seen before, something impossible. Then, as the Orion moved closer to the heart of the fleet, the dark shapes began to shift. Lights flickered along the massive hulls. Engines glowed faintly. And the ships began to move. The crew froze. Ethan's hands tightened on the controls. "They're alive," he whispered. "The fleet, it's not abandoned. It's waiting, and now, it knows we are here." A low hum vibrated through the ship. The shadows stretched further, covering the stars. The fleet was awakening. Something ancient. Something powerful. Ethan swallowed hard. All right, he said, his voice steady but tense. We need to stay calm, observe, learn, and be ready for anything. As the massive ships drew closer, the crew of Orion realized one terrifying truth. Humanity had stumbled upon something far bigger than any war they had imagined. The unexpected war had already begun, though no bullets had fired yet and no bombs had exploded, and in the silence of deep space, the fleet waited. Watching, calculating. The Orion floated silently in the darkness of deep space, but the silence no longer felt safe. The massive fleet stretched endlessly ahead, ships like dark mountains against the stars. Every crew member on the bridge stared in awe and fear. None of them had ever imagined anything like this could exist. Ethan leaned over the console, scanning the data coming from the probes. The fleet isn't random, he said. Every ship is in formation. Someone or something built it carefully. Organized, intelligent. Lieutenant Mara's fingers flew over her console. Captain, energy readings are rising. The ships are powering up. It's subtle, but it's definitely happening. They aren't just floating. They're alive. Ethan's stomach tightened. Alive? You mean like they are controlled? Mara shook her head. I don't know. Maybe by AI? Maybe by someone else. But it's not like anything we've ever seen. The fleet is aware. Navigator Rico's voice trembled. Sir, I'm picking up movement patterns. Minimal but coordinated. The fleet is reacting to us. Ethan felt a cold sweat on his forehead. Everyone stay calm. We're explorers, not fighters, yet let's see what we can learn before making a move. The crew launched another set of probes, smaller and faster this time. Ethan watched as they approached the fleet. The cameras transmitted faint images, but it wasn't enough. Then one of the probes passed close to a massive hull and the image changed suddenly. Symbols appeared, glowing faintly in green light. Strange lines crisscrossed the surface of the ship. Some of the symbols looked familiar. Human handwriting. Ancient patterns? Ethan couldn't be sure. Captain, Mara said quietly, I've never seen anything like this. The symbols, they almost looked like they were made to communicate, maybe in a message. Ethan's eyes widened. A message from whom? Humans, aliens, or something else entirely? The tension on the bridge was thick. No one spoke for a moment, but everyone knew one thing. Whatever this fleet was, it was not inactive. It was awake and it was observing. Suddenly alarms blared. A bright light appeared on the sensor grid. A massive ship detached from the fleet. Its engines glowed faintly and it moved slowly but purposefully toward the Orion. Rico froze. Sir, it's coming at us. Should we fire? Ethan shook his head. No, do not provoke it. We don't know what it can do. Prepare shields and keep scanners active, but stay calm. We need information, not a fight yet. The ship approached, massive and silent. Its hull shimmered under the distant starlight. Crew members held their breath. Then a strange signal came through the Orion's communication system. It wasn't words, at least not in any language humans knew. It was a pattern, a rhythm, a pulse of energy that seemed almost alive. Mara's eyes widened. It's communicating, not with sound, with energy, the ship. It's speaking. Ethan's heart raced. Can we respond? They tried. The ship's pulse changed slightly. Then, without warning, the massive ship stopped. Its engines dimmed. And all at once the fleet shifted. Hundreds of ships moved in unison, aligning themselves in patterns that stretched across light years. The bridge went silent. Ethan felt the weight of it all. Humanity had never seen anything like this. The fleet was not just a weapon, it was a network, connected, aware, and maybe intelligent. Hours passed as the Orion studied the fleet. Probes were absorbed, signals echoed, and the crew realized something terrifying. The fleet was testing them. Every movement, every scan, every signal sent, it responded. Almost as if it was judging humanity. Then Ethan noticed something on the sensors. Look at the formations, he said. They're pointing somewhere, not at us. Towards the core of this sector. Toward Earth, Mara gasped. You mean, it's preparing to move? To Earth? Rico shook his head, fear in his eyes. No, it can't be. We don't know what they want. It could be a threat, or something else. Ethan's mind raced. If the fleet moved toward Earth, humanity would see the largest ships ever created. They wouldn't be ready for this. And yet he felt a strange pull. This fleet, impossible and hidden for decades, might also hold answers. Secrets of technology, of history, of survival. Captain, Mara said softly, there's something else. The symbols on the ships. They're changing. It's almost like instructions. A code. Ethan leaned closer. A code. Maybe it's meant for us. Maybe. It's a test. But a warning, too. The crew stared at the massive fleet, its shadow stretching over the stars. It was alive, massive, intelligent, and perhaps waiting. Waiting for humanity to prove itself or to fail and Elieth. The Orion drifted closer to the massive fleet, every crew member tense. The shadows of the colossal ship stretched across the void like dark mountains, and the faint glow of the symbols on their hulls pulsed slowly, almost like a heartbeat. Ethan leaned forward, gripping the controls. He felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was history, something humans had never seen before. Captain, Mara said softly, her eyes glued to the main screen. The symbols, they're changing again. It's like they're trying to communicate. Maybe instructions. Or a warning, Ethan frowned. A warning. From who? Humans, aliens, or something else entirely? Rico, still pale from the previous day's tension, spoke quietly. Sir, and look at the formation. It's not random anymore, it's a map. Ethan leaned closer. Sure enough, the symbols aligned in patterns. They formed a map of deep space, pointing to a location in an uncharted star system far from Earth. A hidden place. Maybe a base, he said. We have to follow it. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Following the fleet's map could be dangerous. No one knew what waited in that uncharted system, and the fleet was enormous, far beyond anything humans had built. But Ethan's mind was made up. We don't turn back now. Humanity can't afford to ignore this. The Orion changed course. Hours passed as they followed the fleet's instructions, and slowly, a star system emerged from the darkness. Planets and moons floated quietly, untouched and unknown. In the center of the system hovered a massive station, surrounded by a ring of dormant ships. The station glowed faintly, the same green hue as the symbols on the fleet. Mara gasped. It's huge. And all the ships. They're like the ones in the fleet. Ethan nodded. This must be the origin. This fleet, it's not random. It was built here, hidden here, maybe waiting for humans to discover it. The crew prepared to approach the station. Docking maneuvers were tricky, but the Orion slid safely into a bay. As the crew disembarked into the station, a cold metallic smell filled the corridors. The walls were lined with technology that humans couldn't understand. Machines fused with unknown alloys, circuits glowing with energy, and strange symbols covering every surface. This place. It's ancient, Rico whispered, and advanced, far beyond us. They moved carefully, scanning the area. In the center of the station, a massive control room waited, empty but active. Lights pulsed in rhythm and holographic images appeared in the air. Ships, stars, and symbols forming complex patterns. Ethan's eyes widened. These are coordinates, he said slowly. This fleet, it was built by humans long ago, but hidden, forgotten, maybe a myth. Mara stared at the holograms. But why? Who built it? And why hide it? Ethan shook his head. We don't know yet. But look at this. He pointed to a section of the hologram. Ships moved in formations like a dance, and symbols highlighted paths, connections, and sequences. This is a fleet designed for war and defense. Someone wanted it preserved, waiting for the right moment. As they explored further, one of the crew, Lieutenant Dara, found a chamber with a faint glow. Inside, she gasped. You need to see this. The others rushed over. In the room floated human silhouettes, holographic recordings. Men and women moved, speaking in languages long forgotten. Their faces were serious, determined. Ethan's voice was low. These are the creators, he said. They built the fleet. They wanted it hidden, safe. Maybe for us, maybe for the future. Suddenly, the station trembled. The lights flickered. A low hum filled the air, growing louder. Mara's fingers danced over the console. Captain, the fleet outside. It's responding. It's like the station woke it up. Something is happening. Ethan's heart pounded. Then we're not alone. The fleet. It's alive in some way. It's connected to this station, and now it's aware of us. The crew braced as the massive ships outside began to shift in formation again. Engines glowed faintly, and the patterns of light pulsed faster. The symbols on the hulls mirrored the station's holograms. The fleet was communicating. With the station, and with them. Rico swallowed hard. Captain, it's like it's judging us, testing us, seeing if we're worthy. Ethan nodded. Maybe it's not a threat yet, but it could become one. We have to learn fast, understand the technology, before it decides what to do with humanity. Hours turned into days as the crew explored the station. They uncovered manuals, recordings, and designs for the ships. Ancient AI systems hummed quietly, ready to answer their questions. Every discovery brought more awe and more questions. And then, the most shocking discovery. One of the holograms revealed a battle long forgotten. Humans fought against alien invaders centuries ago, using this fleet to defend colonies no one now remembered. The fleet had vanished, deliberately. Its existence erased from history. Ethan's jaw tightened. This fleet, it was humanity's secret weapon, hidden for a reason, waiting for the right time. Mara's voice was soft. And now, we found it. But what does it want from us? Ethan looked out at the fleet still hovering in the void, immense and powerful. I don't know, yet. But one thing is certain, he said, his voice firm. The real story, the real war, is about to begin. The crew of the Orion stared at the shadows of the fleet. For the first time, they understood the truth. Humanity had found something impossible, something thought lost in myth. And now that myth was awake, alive, and waiting to test them. In the silence of the station, the fleet's lights pulsed in rhythm, like a heartbeat. The shadows stretched across the void, dark and powerful, and far in the distance, the stars themselves seemed to shiver. The secrets of the myth were revealed, but the danger, the war, and the tests of humanity had only just begun. The Orion floated in the shadow of the colossal fleet, dwarfed by the massive ships surrounding it. Ethan and his crew had spent days exploring the hidden station, uncovering ancient technology and secrets long forgotten. But now a new feeling filled the bridge, a sense of urgency, of inevitability. Captain, Mara said, her voice tense. Energy readings from the fleet are spiking. The ships are moving, slowly, but definitely moving. Ethan's eyes widened. Moving, but they shouldn't. They're supposed to be dormant. Rico swallowed hard. Sir, I'm detecting coordinated engine activity. It's subtle at first, but it's growing. They're awakening. Ethan leaned forward, gripping the controls tightly. All stations, alert status. Shields up. Sensors to maximum. Every reading we get, we analyze. We do not provoke them, but we prepare for anything. The crew obeyed, their hands shaking slightly over their consoles. They had seen the fleet shift before, but this was different. This movement was purposeful, deliberate. Each ship aligned perfectly with the others, forming massive formations that stretched across the star system. Then, the hum began. A low, vibrating sound that filled the corridors of the Orion and echoed through the empty chambers of the station. Mara's hands hovered over her console. Captain, the frequency, it's almost like a language, but not words, patterns of energy. The fleet, it's communicating with itself. Ethan's heart raced. And with us, maybe. It's aware we're here. Suddenly, the shadows of the fleet shifted again. One of the massive ships detached from the formation. Its engines flared faintly and it moved toward the Orion, slow but unstoppable. The bridge crew froze, staring at the massive silhouette growing larger on the screen. Captain, it's coming closer. Rico shouted, panic rising in his voice. Ethan shook his head. No sudden moves. We're explorers, stay calm. Let's see what it wants. The ship stopped at a safe distance and the Orion sensors picked up a strange signal. Not words, not sound, but a pulsing rhythm of energy. It resonated through the hull of their ship. Mara's eyes widened. It's sending a message. Or a warning. I can feel it. In the sensors, in the systems. It's alive, Ethan. It's alive and aware of us. Ethan nodded, swallowing hard. We need to respond carefully. If we provoke it, it could destroy us without effort. Prepare a neutral signal. Let's see if we can communicate. The crew worked quickly, sending a simple pattern of pulses toward the massive ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship shifted slightly. Its lights pulsed in response. The rhythm changed, almost like acknowledgement. It's listening, Mara whispered. It understands we're trying to communicate. Ethan's mind raced. This fleet, it's not just a weapon. It's intelligent, connected, maybe even testing us. Everything we do matters. One mistake and we could trigger a disaster. As the hours passed, more ships began moving. Engines ignited faintly, illuminating the shadows of the massive fleet. They formed lines, patterns, and formations stretching across the star system. The scale was overwhelming. No human fleet had ever faced anything like this, and yet there was no attack. Yet Rico spoke softly, fear evident in his voice. "Sir, they're pointing toward Earth. The formations, they're aligned like a course. Heading home." Ethan's stomach dropped. "To Earth? But why? Are they friendly? Or a threat?" Mara shook her head. "I don't know. But look at the energy patterns. They're stabilizing now, almost waiting, like a test." Ethan realized the truth. They're waiting for humanity to prove itself. They've been hidden all this time, watching, judging, and now they've awakened. But they haven't chosen to destroy yet, not until they decide if we're worthy. A sudden alert flashed on Mara's console. "Captain." Scanning shows ships detaching from the formation, engines powering up. They're enormous, and moving fast. Ethan's hands tightened on the controls. "All crew, brah." The Orion floated in the shadow of the awakened fleet, and tension filled every corner of the ship. Ethan and his crew had spent days trying to understand the colossal vessels. They had seen formations move with perfect precision, symbols communicate in pulses of energy, and engines flare like the heartbeat of giants. Yet despite all their discoveries, one question remained. What did the fleet want? "Captain," Mara said, pointing at the displays, "the fleet, it's splitting. Part of it is moving away from the system, heading into deep space. The other half, it's aligning toward Earth." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Earth? How fast? Can it reach home before we can warn them?" Rico shook his head. "Too fast, sir. And powerful. The fleet doesn't just move. It can travel light years faster than anything humans have." Ethan stood, pacing the bridge. "We can't follow it all. One path leads to unknown danger, the other, straight to our planet. And if the fleet decides Earth is unworthy, humanity could be wiped out before anyone knows what hit them." Mara's voice was calm but firm. "Sir, the station logs, remember the messages, the recordings of the fleet's creators? They weren't just building a weapon. They were preparing humanity. They wanted us to find it, maybe. This is a test." Ethan's mind raced. "A test or a challenge. And if we fail, the fleet won't just judge, it will act. Earth could be destroyed." Rico swallowed hard. "Sir, maybe we can control it, learn its commands. If it's AI-driven or guided by protocols, we might influence its decisions." Ethan nodded. "Right. Mara, focus on decoding the fleet's signals. Rico, analyze movement patterns and formations. I want every system ready. We may have to act fast. To defend Earth or to guide the fleet safely." Hours passed. The crew worked tirelessly. Pulses of energy flowed across their consoles as they tried to understand the language of the fleet. Slowly, patterns emerged. The symbols weren't random, they were instructions, sequences, and warnings. "They're like a map of decision-making," Mara said, eyes wide. "The fleet responds to behavior. It tests intentions, and now it's testing us." Ethan's stomach tightened. "Then we have one choice, prove we are worthy. Show intelligence, courage, and strategy. Humanity cannot fail now." Outside the Orion, the massive ships continued to move. The part heading to Earth formed an enormous spear-like formation. The fleet in deep space moved silently, disappearing into the void. Ethan realized the scale of what was happening. The fleet was immense, powerful, and fully aware. Earth's fate rested in human hands. Then a sudden alert flashed on the sensors. "Captain!" "The spear formation. It's slowing. Energy patterns. They're responding to our signals." Mara shouted. Ethan's heart pounded. "Good, maintain communication. Do not panic. Every response must show intention, not fear." For the next few hours, the Orion crew sent pulse signals, small movements, and calculated scans. The fleet reacted, shifting slowly, cautiously, like a giant awakening to measure humanity's readiness. Rico whispered, awe in his voice. "It's listening, learning, adapting. They're watching how we behave, how we respond." Ethan nodded. "Then we act carefully. Every choice we make now matters. One wrong move, and we could trigger the worst war humans have ever faced." Suddenly, the largest ship in the fleet shifted closer, directly aligned with the Orion. The hum of its engines vibrated through the hull. The sensors picked up a massive energy pulse, like a voice, a question asking, "Are you ready?" Ethan swallowed hard. "We are ready. Humans are ready. Not to fight recklessly, but to prove we can think, adapt, and survive. We will show them we are worthy." Mara's fingers flew over her console. "The fleet? It's responding. The formation stabilizes. Energy levels match our signals. It's acknowledging us." Rico's voice trembled. "Sir, it's like it's giving us a chance. A real choice. Do we guide it or let it go to Earth? Do we risk controlling it or just observe?" Ethan took a deep breath, staring at the immense shadow on the screens. "We guide it carefully. Humanity has never had this chance before. We cannot waste it. This fleet, our history, it is ours to protect, to learn from, and maybe to use wisely." Outside, the stars reflected the light of the awakened fleet. Ships moved in perfect formations, engines glowing faintly. The Orion floated like a small spark in the midst of giants. But its crew understood the truth. The first real test had come. The choice they made now would shape the fate of Earth and humanity itself. And in the silence of the void, the fleet waited. Watching. Judging. Patient. But ready to act. The choice had been made. Humanity would not stand idle. They would prove their worth. The real war had not yet begun, but the first move was in human hands. And the stars waited for the consequences. The Orion floated at the heart of the awakened fleet. Shadows of massive ships stretched across the void, dark and endless. Ethan and his crew had spent days decoding signals, understanding formations, and testing their influence over the colossal vessels. Humanity had finally earned the fleet's attention. "Captain," Mara said, eyes glued to her console, "the fleet is responding to our control patterns. The energy pulses are stabilizing. I think it's letting us guide it." Ethan exhaled slowly. "Then we do it carefully. Every movement matters. We can't waste this chance." Rico studied the navigation screens. "The formation we're controlling. It leads to a hidden star system. Look, the station, the ancient ships. They're waiting for us there. It's like the fleet has a purpose beyond Earth." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then that's where we go." "We need to understand everything before the real war reaches us. Humanity must be ready." The Orion and the massive fleet moved together through the void. Outside, stars flashed past as ships long thought lost to history hummed with power. Every pulse, every alignment made it clear. This fleet was alive, intelligent, and waiting for humans to prove themselves. Hours later, the fleet reached the hidden system. Dozens of massive ships hovered silently around an ancient station, larger than anything humans had ever built. The station was alive with energy, circuits glowing faintly. Holographic patterns from the fleet aligned perfectly with the station's systems. Mara whispered, "Captain, this place, it's incredible. The fleet, it's a repository of knowledge, weapons, and power. This was humanity's secret, hidden for centuries." Ethan nodded. "We found it. Now we learn. Now we prepare." As the crew explored the station, they discovered ancient designs, battle plans, and AI systems that could interface with the fleet. The technology was beyond anything humans had achieved. Every console, every hologram, every pattern contained instructions, strategies, and secrets for controlling the massive ships. Rico stared at one screen, awe in his eyes. "These ships, they're not just weapons. They were built to train humanity, to prepare us for a war we didn't even know existed." Ethan's voice was firm. "Then it's time. We learn, we master them. Humanity cannot be weak anymore." Suddenly the sensors beeped. A massive fleet appeared at the edge of the system. Alien ships, dark and deadly, approaching fast. Their weapons glowed ominously, and their formation was designed for war. They had assumed humanity was defenseless. "They were wrong," Captain Mara said, her voice tense. "The aliens, they're coming. They think we're weak, but we have the fleet." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Then it's time to show them what humans can do. Prepare all systems. Link with the fleet. Every ship, every engine, every weapon, we fight together. Humanity will not fall." The alien fleet moved closer, their ships massive, deadly, and advanced. But the human fleet, awakened from myth, responded in perfect synchronization. Lights flashed, engines flared, and energy pulses rippled across the void. The ancient ships moved like giants, massive and precise, guided by the humans who had learned their secrets. "Captain," Rico shouted, "we have control. The fleet is following our commands. Ethan smiled grimly. Then let's remind the galaxy. Humanity is not weak. Humanity fights back. The first strike was swift and precise. Alien ships were disabled before they could fire. Energy beams, long lost to myth, pulsed across the void. Massive vessels moved like predators, coordinated and deadly. Humans had taken control of the impossible, turning legend into reality. The battle raged, stars flickering as the awakened fleet destroyed enemy ships with precision and power. Humanity had never faced such danger, but for the first time they were not defenseless. They were no longer small. They were the giants now. Hours later, silence returned. The alien fleet was destroyed or scattered. The awakened human fleet stood tall, colossal and powerful, shadows stretching across the void like guardians. Ethan looked at the stars and whispered, "We discovered the impossible, and we survived. We turned myth into power, and the galaxy will never underestimate humans again." Mara smiled faintly. "The fleet? It tested us. And we passed," Rico nodded, still in awe. "The war isn't over, but humanity is ready now. Nothing can stop us." Ethan gazed at the horizon of stars, the awakened fleet around them, and the infinite possibilities of the galaxy. For the first time, humans were not just survivors, they were masters of their fate, guardians of the fleet, and warriors of a new age. The shadows of the fleet stretched across the void, alive, powerful, and waiting. Humanity had discovered them, tamed their power, and learned the true meaning of strength. The galaxy had laughed at humanity. Now it would watch in silence as humans rose from myth to legend. And in the quiet of deep space, Ethan smiled. The unexpected war had begun, and